years ago, I went for a walk. Then I kept walking all day, almost every day, for 147 days. I was hiking Te Araroa, a 3,000-kilometer trail that runs through Aotearoa, New Zealand. It crosses beaches, forests, rivers, cities, Maori iwi or tribal land, historic sites, mountain ranges, volcanoes, mangroves, farmland, and winding backcountry roads. It's one of many long-distance trails around the world. You might be familiar with the Pacific Crest Trail in the United States or the Camino de Santiago in Spain, Portugal, and France. Actually, just meters from this very spot is the Rideau Trail, which runs more than 450 kilometers between Ottawa and Kingston. And they're not just for long haulers. These pathways are used for day and weekend adventures too. But I wanted to do it all. So for 5 months, I walked, biked, and paddled in every kind of weather, equipped only with what I could fit inside a backpack. I confronted my fears. One morning, I even woke up with a big spider on my face. That is the correct response. So when I tell you that thousands of people choose to do things like this every year, you might say, okay, but why? I don't know. I guess because it exists, and because from the moment we know that it exists, we will never stop thinking about it until we see it for ourselves. Or because it's a fun way to be physically active and take care of your mental health. Contact with nature is associated with lower stress, fatigue, and anxiety. It makes you more creative. It makes you feel good. When you're out of cellular range, you're finally free from the 24-hour news cycle, the hypnosis of social media, and the endless treadmill of consumption. You stop thinking about how your body looks and start thinking about what your body can do. Or it could be because nothing can make you feel as fully alive as the beauty and power of planet Earth. But I think that more than anything, it's because of the people. On a long-distance hike, you meet folks from different countries with their own lived experiences and varied political views. You won't always see eye to eye, but you all share a sense of purpose and a love of the open sky. You all talk about your feet way too much. It's actually disturbing. You all look out for each other. There are days when the trail threatens to break you, and the masks you normally wear fall away. When your fellow hikers see you as you really are, and they love you anyway, that is a life-changing bond. There's a reason we call our hiking friends our trail families. Our community also includes non-hikers. We were supported by trail angels and kaitiaki, or guardians, people who offer hospitality to complete strangers, a place to sleep, a hot shower, a meal, even a lesson in their culture so that we could be better guests in someone else's land. It surprised me how central other people were to my journey, but it shouldn't have. Outdoor recreation has well-documented social benefits like improved empathy and trust. It makes us more engaged citizens, people who volunteer and take pride in our communities. And immersive outdoor adventures, like the ones we had on Te Araroa, force you to draw on teamwork and resilience, and they cannot help but change you. In studies of long-distance hikers, participants report a greater sense of competence and empowerment, that they've become less selfish and have a better outlook on humanity. These days, I feel like we could all use more of that. I can attest to all of these benefits and more. I lost track of how many times I thought, I am so lucky. Like when I looked out over endless mountain peaks with the wind in my hair, or when my trail family stopped to swim in a river, then doze on the sun-warmed rocks. How did I get this lucky? There were moments of gratitude so intense it felt like a physical ache. Months later, I was back home, and I decided to plan a weekend backpacking trip. I needed to get out of the city, fill my lungs with fresh air. So I pored over maps and online forums for hours, trying to find a suitable route and places that we could camp legally. I scraped together a plan that might work if we hiked really hard and if the information I had was still up to date. By then, I didn't feel grateful. I felt angry, because if I could barely make it work for a weekend in the woods, what did that mean for the person who's just getting started? You know, we say going outside is free, and that's technically true. Outside is right through those doors. But there's a difference between going outside and getting outdoors. Getting outdoors means going where the sound of traffic is replaced by a special kind of silence. It means letting go of some control, allowing yourself to be tested by the elements, and discovering how strong you really are. Getting outdoors is not free. It costs time and money and knowledge and even personal connections. Maybe you get in your car, drive to a nature area, do your thing, get back in the car and go home. You might stay at a campsite you booked months in advance because in some places, that's the only way you're likely to get one. Or maybe you don't get outdoors at all because you don't know where to go or how to prepare. You don't have a way to get there. You're not sure if it will be accessible for your body. You can't afford the fees. You can't plan months in advance, or you simply don't see it as an option for you because nobody ever showed you that it was. Our modern urban society treats the outdoors like a commodity and then creates structural barriers to enjoying it in a meaningful way. As I sat with my anger over the fact that we've let things get this way, I started to reflect on how much our disconnect from nature and our disconnect from each other are actually two sides of the same coin, and maybe starting to heal one can help us heal the other. There's a blueprint for this, and I lived it for 5 months. I saw how our experiences in the outdoors have the power to build community, and how the communities we build have the power to shape our experiences in the outdoors. Trail communities have modeled this for decades, and I think they have something to offer the rest of the world, even if you don't want to go to extremes. Because let's be clear, you probably shouldn't do a long-distance hike. This is a weird hobby. But there's a lot of ground between walking for 5 months like it's your job and sitting indoors on the couch. And I think that many of us, especially the nearly 45% of humanity that live in cities, could benefit from exploring that world of opportunity. As I looked closer at places that attract long-distance hikers, I noticed that they build community with intention to get people outdoors. And then those people give back to the community, and the cycle continues. Here's what I learned from them. I learned that these communities are very much shaped by the people in them. I only had the courage to do what I did because people around the world got online to share their own experiences. And I had friends by my side from day one, because through that online community, I got into a group chat. And someone in that group chat said, "Hey, who wants to save money by sharing a ride to the trailhead?" And someone else said, "Who wants to meet up for a beer?" And that was how 4 nervous people from 3 different countries ended up laughing together as we took our first steps on an adventure we could barely imagine. What if we saw the outdoors more like a shared space where we get to meet new people? What if we created more spaces, online and off, to find each other, and then took action within those spaces so that they grow and become great? Of course, there are things that are tough for individuals to do, like establish public access to land, engage with Indigenous rights holders, or build infrastructure like trails and campsites. But I learned that governments and nonprofits can do incredible things for outdoor communities, given the right pressures and the right supports. One day in the mountains, my birthday, incidentally, we walked for hours in the rain. My friend Kate slipped and twisted her ankle. We had no choice but to keep going, and eventually we saw a curl of smoke rising up ahead. It came from a Department of Conservation hut where a warden named Mike served up tea and scones while we lay our things out to dry by the wood stove. The government maintains hundreds of these backcountry huts where anybody can stay for a low cost. It's a way to get people outdoors and keep them safe while they're there. It rained the next day, and the next, but Kate had a warm, dry place to recover. The story could have ended really badly, but it didn't, because we were in a country where outdoor recreation, which again promotes health, well-being, and social cohesion, is seen as worthy of public investment. What if we demanded more of the institutions that exist to serve us and stood behind them when they got it right? What new opportunities would that create? Now, I can hear the objections. Alex, we can't have nice things. People would abuse them. It is true that any human system, including outdoor communities, is subject to abuse, and that abuse and overuse can do real harm to the environment, the facilities, and the people who live there. When we invest in better access to the outdoors, we are extending trust to others. It's only sustainable if members of the community prove themselves worthy of that trust. The good news is, I've learned there's a way we can do that. The bad news is, it's not fun. The thing about being in community with others is that sometimes people are annoying. And one of the most annoying things a person can do is be right about something. See, successful outdoor communities have their own social contracts that guide members' behavior. There are rules. If you pack something into the backcountry, pack it out again. Don't leave a mess for others to deal with. Show gratitude to those who open their homes to you. These things are stated early and often, and we hold each other to them. Sometimes it is annoying. Like when you see a post in the hiker group saying, "Hey, which one of you left a bunch of garbage at this hut?" Nobody likes to be scolded, much less accused without proof. But we do have to keep naming the expectations. We have to signal that community membership is conditional on upholding that social contract so that people's desire to belong will motivate them to do what's right and maintain that trust on which the community depends. What if we cared enough that we were willing to speak up and say what others don't want to hear? What if we were willing to listen and take responsibility? Building community sometimes means getting uncomfortable. It's worth it. The trail communities I've seen are imperfect, but passionate, full of people trying to do their part to make something they love even better. They show that small acts can add up to a culture where outdoor adventure is not limited to a fit and wealthy elite, but is available to just about anyone. A culture where we reconnect with nature and with each other, and we are all better for it. But this won't just happen for us. We need to create the communities we want for ourselves. So whenever you can, don't just go outside. Get outdoors. And don't just get outdoors. Get involved. A journey is better when you take it with others. Thank you.